Hello, everyone. If you are in the market for a bathroom makeover or a kitchen remodel, the first thing you're going to want to know is, do you need a designer? Now, when we think of designers, we think of interior designers that come in, fluff our pillows, match our curtains and carpeting, rearrange our furniture. At least that's what I thought a designer was prior to working on my own home. But designers come with a hefty price tag. Some are incredibly skilled. They know code, they know zoning laws, they know just about everything there is to know. Sometimes they even know more than an electrician or a plumber because they studied this for years, or they keep going back to school to learn different codes. One such designer that comes to mind that worked with me was a woman named Lori. She was so incredibly helpful and resourceful. When she did my kitchen, she knew what size refrigerator I needed. She knew what size stove I needed. She knew where the outlets had to go. She even knew where to tell the plumber to do this or that, or the electrician to do this or that. It was amazing. But not all designers know that information. When you're dealing with bathroom spaces and kitchen spaces, everyone knows you're dealing with plumbing and electrical. Those are separate fields. Those are separate industries. They're separate trades. Electricians and plumbers have to go to certain schools for this type of work. They can't just walk out of their house one day, put a shingle up and say, I'm a plumber. They have to know town codes, state codes. They have to be certified. They have to take courses. They have to do registration, paperwork every year, forms. The states oversee them. And a lot of times you'll hear, say, for example, a driveway person. They'll come in, they'll pave a driveway, it turns to mush. You go to the state, you're like, hey, this person ripped me off. And they're like, well, too bad they weren't registered. I happen to know a local couple in town who live in a very beautiful home on the water. And today it is valued about $5 million. We do have places around here that are extremely wealthy. And I was talking with this couple and they said that they hired this designer. She's not from here, but she came here to work with them specifically. If you saw this house, picture a $5 million house on Zillow and see the beautiful interior decorations, the woodwork. It's just upscale. That was their house. Very, very upscale home. They put the best of the best in there. But as they got older, they decided to renovate one of the bathrooms. It had high-end plumbing fixtures. I said to them, you may want to talk to Lori, the lady I used for my kitchen, because she is fabulous. She knows code, she knows zoning, she knows how to work with the town. She knows plumbers, she knows electricians, she knows carpenters, and they all work together. And she's been doing this for so many years now. They have a great working relationship. But they were set on this woman that they had talked to online. This woman worked further away, lives further away. She's not from here, but she traveled to meet with these people. Now, I can tell you that Lori charges about $15,000 per job, not by the hour, but per job. But she is legit. Back when I worked with her, it wasn't that expensive. I wouldn't have had that much money to work with her. But if you have a $5 million home, she's well worth the investment. This woman traveled from out of town, came down, looked at this couple's bathroom, which was beautifully done, just a little outdated. All they were really wanting to do is update the shower head, shower arm, plumbing, the exterior of your shower, the valve, handle, everything you use to turn your shower on. That's all they were looking to do. I don't know what she charged them. They didn't tell me that, and that's frankly none of my business. I just know what other true designers charge. So I don't know what she charged, but she convinced them to go with a very basic, mostly plastic plumbing fixture to save money. When I talked to them again, I said, that's a mistake. That is a terrible mistake. You have a $5 million home. You don't want to put junk garbage in your house. And these folks were retired, but they weren't moving out anytime soon. This is their home. You don't want the basic, most junky cheapest stuff you can get because it's going to corrode. The warranty probably won't be lifetime. It may even rust. So you want to make sure what you're getting is good quality. You can get good quality in median ranged fixtures. Like some of these manufacturers, they do offer lifetime warranties. So if something were to happen, they cover it. Recently, I had a plumbing valve issue about 3 years ago. And all I did was call up the manufacturer and say, hey, I don't know what to do. My shower is older. I don't know if this is still available. What do I do? How do I go about this? And they sent me the plumbing parts I needed for free because it's covered under warranty. That's what I explained to my friends. I said, hey, listen, you are wanting to redo your bathroom, to spruce it up, to make it look good. Why would you put junk with no warranty or a minimal warranty of 1 year when you can buy a little bit better product? You don't even have to go the highest price or the top of the line. Why not look for something with the lifetime warranties? Because there's plentiful out there, and just spend a little bit more. This woman was horrific to them. She basically yelled at them and said, nope, you do it my way or you don't do it. Then I had a conversation with her and I asked my friends permission. I said, hey, can I talk to her? And they invited me over when she was there. I'm not a designer. I don't have this skill set. But what I'm concerned about is, why are you using these plastic parts in a $5 million home? Why aren't you going with a slightly better quality product? And this was the truth. This was the reasoning. She told me outright. Because her friend owns this business where she can get the stuff cheap. So she's gonna sell it to them for a profit. My friends didn't listen. At the end of the day, they ended up with the cheap junk. They ended up putting the plastic in their bathroom. I couldn't believe it. I said, why would you do such a thing? And the savings wasn't that much. Like, I went online and I found a bunch of items that they could have put in instead, and it was like $500 more. It's really shady. If you're hiring an actual designer who knows their stuff, they're going to have a website. They're going to have testimonials. They're going to have pictures of what they've done, their accomplishments, and their education, because they're proud of it. It makes them who they are. She had a shady little business card that she had printed online, and it said her name on one side, and on the back, there was a phone number. And I said to her, these don't even look professional. What is this? She says, well, I can't go around saying I'm a designer. It's against the law. I don't have the qualifications. So I said, so in other words, you're not licensed or registered. She's like, that's correct. I'm like, There's an old saying. My grandfather used to say this. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So I did what I could for my friends. It was ultimately their decision. It wasn't my home. It wasn't my choice. It wasn't my bank account. They went with what they thought would be good. Their stuff's already breaking. Here is a more concerning issue when hiring a designer. That was one example. Now, that was just foolish on my friend's part. This next issue, though, is not something the general public would be aware of unless you've already been through it, unless you've already worked with skilled professionals and see the difference. And this one is way worse than the first example. I have my own cleaning company. I started it as a side hustle years ago, and I've kept it. So I do commercial cleaning on weekends. Because of that, I have a network of builders that I know, because sometimes realtors, builders, anybody working on properties, they look for cleaning specialists. A contractor that I know in the area came to me and said, somebody he knew needed a house cleaner on an emergency basis. I don't usually do residential. I don't like it. I don't like going in people's homes. I'd rather go into a commercial building when there's nobody there and I can clean at my leisure, put my radio on and go to town. But because this man was somebody I knew and respected, I said, okay, I'll do it. So while I was there scrubbing the kitchen floor and all that, they were talking, including me. We were all kind of talking together. They were right there in a little sitting room. And they mentioned that they had a friend who was hiring a designer for a huge new bathroom expansion onto their house. I never saw the house. I didn't know these folks. They were expanding it because they were going to be building like a little in-law suite to the side of the house. They had already gotten all their permits and everything. So because they didn't know how to do that kind of design. Plus, it's a multi-million-dollar home. They wanted to put in a very fancy shower, something like you would see in a magazine. And it was huge. The shower was big enough for 2 people. It was going to have overhead shower heads. It was going to have body sprays on each side. It was going to have shower handheld wands on each side. The flooring in the shower itself was going to be heated, and it was going to be surrounded by glass. So that couple, they hired a designer, and again, from out of town. Unlike the first designer I mentioned, this designer actually did have a website. She said she had graduated from an art school and she was an artist. But she had no plumbing experience. She had no code experience. She had no anything. She wasn't registered. She wasn't licensed. She wasn't insured. They told me that she charged $15,000 to $25,000 and she charged by the hour. So I was like, wow, I would definitely look into that a little bit more, because I know a designer, Lori, that is incredible. She's been doing it for years and years and years, and she knows everything. And she works really well with everybody. Well, this contractor that I knew, he didn't really work with designers. He was more of a basic house builder, a basic house flipper, where he would go in, remodel a home. He would put up the oak cabinets and everything. So he didn't really work with designers because he didn't, usually have a homeowner involved in making the selections of what he put in homes when he was building them. Well, it turned out that this second designer, she didn't know code. She didn't know anything about plumbing. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but some plumbing manufacturers have their own little boutique showroom type things where you can go and you can look at working faucets and pick things out, faucets, shower heads, things like that. This designer would go to one of those boutiques. They're very common here. I don't have one here in my town. They are about an hour to 2 hours away, but we have them all over. She would go to these boutiques and get free advice and assistance from the staff that worked in these boutiques. The staff actually would have to go to classes, courses, and regular meetings within the company to learn plumbing fixtures, different finishes. They were actually more skilled and knowledgeable than this designer. What the couple she was working with didn't know was she was getting the free advice from this plumbing store. And then she was using that advice to make it seem like it was coming from herself. So she would go to the couple and say, oh yeah, I think we should do this and this and this and this and this. And the couple didn't know any better. They didn't even know that they could go to this store themselves and get the free advice. They thought they had to hire a designer to make this all come out nice. The designer went to this boutique showroom place multiple times and spoke to the staff and said that the people she was working with wanted 1 shower head, 2 shower handheld wands. So the staff explained, well, you would need these parts. And they broke it out on a quote for her. She took that to the customer. The customer said, oh, wait a minute. No, we wanted double of everything. We wanted 2 shower heads, 2 shower wands. We want body sprays on each side of the wall. So she took that information back to this boutique and talked with the staff once again. The staff said you need to consult with the plumber working on the job because, first of all, are they going to have enough water? Is their water tank big enough to support all of those fixtures? 2, are the pipes going to be big enough to allow more flow? Okay, so these professionals know all this information, and they were telling the designer. The designer knew nothing of this. She had no idea. So they're telling her this, like, you need to consult with a plumber because they might need bigger pipes in their wall. They might need a bigger water tank. They might want to go to an on-demand hot water tank. And each product, the shower head, the handheld, the body sprays, they have what's called a water output, gallons per minute. So say you have a shower head with 2 gallons per minute or whatever the code in law is now. I know things have changed since I did my bathroom, so I don't know what the code is now. I know at one point you could have 2.5 gallons per minute coming out of a shower head. I don't know if that's still the same or if it's lower, but whatever, you have to know the calculation, because if you're not just having a shower head handheld in your shower, there's actually a calculation that they do to know whether or not you're going to have enough pressure in the water to accommodate all of these parts. So, for example, say you have 2 shower heads and those are 2.5 gallons per minute. Then you have 8 body sprays that are 1 gallon per minute each. That's another 8 gallons per minute, plus the shower heads, which are 5 total. Then you have the 2 shower wands, and who knows what those are. You have to know from your plumber if your pipes, your water pressure, your hot water tank, if that can all handle all those gallons at the same time. And if it can't, you may have to either scratch that idea and just go with a basic shower head handheld, or put in new pipes, put in a new water tank, all that. The designer didn't have this knowledge. My designer, Lori, would know that. That's the difference right there. She would know that. This designer went back to the customer, never talked to the plumber. The designer decided that the staff at this boutique store knew nothing, didn't know what they were talking about, were just making it up, just wanted more money, just wanted to make more sales. So she went back to her customers and said, basically, like, what did you want to actually do? And they told her, they gave her the plan. So she went to like Home Depot and bought the stuff. She didn't even know how to buy the valve that goes in the wall to turn the water on with the handle thing, in your shower. She didn't even know how to do any of that. She just bought the shower heads, body sprays, handhelds. So then the boutique staff followed up because, of course, there's a quote there and they want to know if she wanted to buy anything. So she said to them, well, what if I do this and this? What do I need? What parts do I need? The plumber was never consulted. The plumber knew none of this. So he went ahead and just piped in for a shower head and handheld. That's it, which is a totally different configuration of pipes. Now you picture behind a wall, you got your pipes. There are ways they pipe all this stuff in, and it's got to be precise, or you're not going to have pressure. You're not going to have the water coming out of where it's supposed to come out of. So he didn't know any of this other stuff. He just piped in for shower head handheld. But the problem was the tile went in, and the tile was imported from Italy, and the walls were done. The customers are like, wait, what? Why is there only 1 shower head and a handheld? They went back to the designer and said, hey, what is going on here? And the designer said, that's the plumber's fault. I had nothing to do with it. I put the stuff on the table and left it for him. He should have figured it out. But the plumber said, wait a minute. I got the actual invoice from the boutique because the plumbers work with the staff at this boutique. And they said, I got the list of what you purchased, and you purchased a valve, a shower head, and 1 handheld. And the designer said, well, no, I actually purchased other stuff at Home Depot. They told me I would need that to finish it, but all the stuff from Home Depot was on the table. What ended up happening was now they had to take the walls off of the shower because they had to repipe, replumb. Designer would not accept responsibility. She blamed the plumber and ultimately blamed this staff at the store. So if you are going to be remodeling and you don't want to hire one of those companies you see on TV that come in and do everything in one day, you want to hire individual people, but you don't want plain basic cabinets thrown up on your walls, just make sure the website is legit. They are licensed and registered in the state, if that is your state's requirement of them. Also, look at the testimonials. Ask them, may I talk to your client? But just inquire. Ask them, do you have a portfolio of photos other than what's on your website? Ask them the questions. Have you made any terrible mistakes? Have you been sued? Have you ever had a bathroom or kitchen job go wrong? Just be upfront about it. Because after all, if you're paying somebody $15,000 to $25,000, You have that right to make sure your dollar is going to a legit designer. And you have that right to make sure that your project turns out to what you expected it to, and not a bunch of plastic parts in your shower. I hope that helps somebody out there that's looking to do a bathroom or kitchen upgrade. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.